Good morning. In today's video, we're going to be discussing the 100 most common medical prefixes. I am Nurse Eunice, and I will be guiding you through the prefix video today. So what is a prefix? A prefix is a group of letters added to the beginning of a word to modify its meaning. In medical terminology, prefixes often describe aspects such as location, number, time, or condition. For example, hypo means under or below, as in hypoglycemia or low blood sugar. And tachy means fast, as in tachycardia or fast heart rate. Why is it important for you to learn prefixes? For nursing and medical students, mastering prefixes simplifies the process of learning new terms, enhancing their ability to decode medical language efficiently. This foundational knowledge improves comprehension, promotes effective communication with colleagues, and ensures better patient care, as students can quickly grasp the meaning behind words and procedures. How to study. Before we dive into the 100 most common medical prefixes, I'd ask that you go ahead and grab pen and paper so that you can write the prefixes down as we go. These prefixes are essential to mastering medical terminology, so you'll want to keep them handy. Feel free to pause the replay of this video whenever you feel the need to do so, and don't hesitate to rewatch this video as many times as you need to reinforce what you've learned. Thank you for your support. So many of you all have contacted us to let us know that you've passed your exams. So if you find this video or this channel beneficial, please go ahead and like the video, subscribe to our channel, and if you want to give a coffee donation, you can do so by clicking the heart icon on YouTube or by going to Cash App and send a coffee donation to $Eunice Mathis. Let's get started. A or an before a word as a prefix means without or lack of. For example, asepsis is the state of being free of disease-causing microorganisms. So whenever you're starting an IV, we ask that you use an aseptic technique. Ab means away from. So think about abduction, when someone is taking someone away. Abduction means to move an extremity away from the body's midline. Acro refers to extremities. So acropathy is a disease that affects the extremities. Ad, it means to bring toward. So that's the opposite of ab. So adduction means to move an extremity back toward the body's midline, to bring that arm closer to the body. Adeno refers to gland. So adenocarcinoma is a type of cancer that affects organs and is derived from the words adeno or gland and carcinoma, which is a suffix that means cancer. Angio means vessel. So angiography is a procedure that produces X-ray images of blood vessels. If a person is being assessed for a blood clot, we would actually do an X-ray of the blood vessels or angiography so that we can see those tiny vessels and to see any abnormalities that may exist. Ambi means both. So when someone is ambidextrous, it means that they have the ability to use both hands equally well. So they're not right or left-handed. They are ambidextrous. Anti means before or in front of. For example, the kneecaps are on the anterior part of the body. When you listen to lung sounds, you listen to the anterior and the posterior lung sounds. So you listen to the lung sounds in the front of the chest, and then you also listen to the lung sounds in the back. So anterior means front of the body. Anti means against. For example, an antibiotic is a medicine that fights against bacterial infections by killing bacteria or making it difficult for them to grow and spread. Next is arthro or arthra, and that relates to joints. So arthro/arthra is the prefix meaning joint. So arthralgia is pain in a joint, and that would be common for someone who has arthritis, which will be inflammation of the joints. All right, so next we have auto, and auto means self. So when you think of autoimmune disorders. So if someone has an autoimmune disorder, it is a disease that is caused by the immune system producing antibodies against itself. So it's the person's own body fighting their body, if that makes sense. Bi means two. For example, a bilateral stroke affects both sides of the brain. Brady means slow. Bradycardia is a slow heart rate, which is usually less than 60 beats per minute in an adult patient. Cephalo means head. For example, encephalopathy is a group of disorders that affect brain function and can be caused by a number of things, including infections, underlying conditions, or long term exposure to toxins. Encephalopathy. Cerebral means brain. So, a cerebrovascular accident, or CVA, also known as a stroke, is a medical emergency that occurs when blood flow to the brain is suddenly cut off. Our next medical prefix is going to be chondro. Chondro refers to cartilage. So, a chondrectomy is the excision of cartilage made up of the prefix chondro, meaning cartilage, and ectomy is the suffix, which means to excise or to remove. Cysto refers to bladder. So, cystitis is inflammation of the urinary bladder, often caused by an infection. Derma means skin. So, dermatitis is a condition of inflamed skin. And I know you're proud of yourself because you're understanding the prefixes and the suffixes, and it's starting to make sense. Circum means around. So the circumflex artery is a branch of the left coronary artery that delivers oxygenated blood to the back and side of the heart's left pumping chambers. So the circumflex artery goes around to the side of the heart. Co or con means with or together. So the fallopian tubes connect the ovaries with the uterus. So whenever two things are coming together, think of the prefix con or co. Contra means against or opposite. For example, having a bleeding disorder is a contraindication for taking aspirin because treatment with aspirin may cause excessive bleeding. So you're going to hear about a lot of contraindications whenever it's related to pharmacology and the medications that our patients take. D is the prefix that means down or away from. For example, de-escalation is a first line response to potential violence and aggression in healthcare settings. So when someone is violent or saying mean things to you, you don't match energy. You bring it down. You want to de-escalate and talk in a quiet or calm voice. Dia means through or across. So the diameter of the tumor is 3 centimeters across. And so you'll usually see the length or the size of tumors on CAT scans, on MRIs, and that's when you'll see the term diameter, more likely. Excuse me. Dys, DYS, means difficult or painful. So dysuria is pain with urination, and that is common whenever a patient has a urinary tract infection. Ecto means outside. So an ectopic pregnancy occurs outside of the uterine cavity. Ectopic. En or endo means in or inside. A doctor may use an endoscopy. So the scopy means like a scope. A doctor may use an endoscopy to help examine the small intestine. So the doctor's going inside the patient's body with a scope that has a camera and a light on the end so they can visualize what's going on inside of the person's body. Thus, endoscopy is the term. Epi is upon or above. So pain in the epigastric area is often related to acid reflux, such as heartburn. So whenever someone is having epigastric pain, you don't want to lay them down. You want to keep them upright, and then just watch out for some nausea and vomiting. All right. And then if you're not a nurse, you want to be notifying the nurse of this person's epigastric pain. Erythro means red. So an erythrocyte is a medical term for red blood cells, and the abbreviation is RBC. U, so the E is silent. U means good or normal. So euvolemia is a state of having the proper amount of blood or fluid in the body. So that is a normal fluid state, euvolemia. X or exo means out of or outside. So exogenous means growing or originating outside of the body. Extra means beyond or outside. So extracellular fluid refers to fluid that's located outside of the cell. And so sometimes when your patients become edematous, it's because they have some extracellular fluid. We may call it third spacing. Gastro refers to the stomach. Gastrology means the study of the structure, functions, and diseases of the stomach. Gyneco refers to female, as in gynecology is the branch of medical science that deals with the health and diseases of women, particularly their reproductive organs. Hema or hemo refers to blood. Hematology is the study of blood. Hemi means half. For example, hemiparesis is a medical term that refers to weakness or partial paralysis on one side of the body. For example, when a patient has a CVA, they could also have hemiparesis as a result. One side of their body may be weaker than the other. Hepato refers to liver. So hepatotoxic means destructive to liver cells. For example, medications such as statins, which are medications used to lower cholesterol, and acetaminophen or Tylenol, when you take too much of it, it can cause hepatotoxicity. So it can cause the liver cells to die or to become toxic. Hetero refers to different. So heterotopia is the displacement of an organ or a part of the body from its normal position. So some people are born with their organs not in the proper position, and that term would be heterotopia. Histio refers to tissue. So histogenesis is the formation of tissues from embryonic cells. Homo means the same. Homology means similar DNA or protein sequences between individuals or species. Hyper means excessive or above. So hyperventilation means breathing over the normal rate. And so for an adult, the normal respiration rate is 12 to 20. Of course, with exercise or pain, we expect there to be some increases in the respiratory rate. But if you go into a patient's room and they're breathing 30 breaths per minute, then that person is hyperventilating. They're breathing too fast. Hypo means below or deficient. Hypovolemia means a diminished amount of fluid in the body. Hypovolemia could be caused by nausea, by vomiting, by diarrhea, by blood loss, etc. In with an I means into. So consider intramuscular, which is an injection of medication that is given directly into the muscle, usually with a needle and a syringe. So an intramuscular injection, you're going into the muscle. Infra means beneath or below. So infraorbital means located beneath the bony cavity of the eyeball. Inter is between. So interstitial means relating to the spaces between the cells, the tissues, or the organs of the body. Intra is within. Intracellular means within the cell. Iso is equal or the same. You're going to hear about isotonic fluids. Whenever you are choosing the IV fluids that we're hanging for the patients, if we say normal saline, well, that is an isotonic fluid, and it refers to the solution that has the same salt concentration or sodium as blood and cells. Laparo means abdomen. So a laparoscopy, I can't speak this morning, is a minimally invasive surgical procedure that uses a laparoscope to examine the abdomen or perform minor surgery. Leuco means white. A leukocyte is the medical term for a white blood cell, which is a type of blood cell that is part of the body's immune system. Macro means large. And so when you think of a macrophage, I want you to think of Mrs. Pac-Man eating one of those pellets. Mrs. Pac-Man is the macrophage, which literally means big eater. Macrophages are WBCs or white blood cells that engulf and digest harmful particles such as bacteria, viruses, fungi, dead cells, and debris. So the macrophages are the large WBCs that help to fight infections. Mal means bad or abnormal. So malabsorption is a medical term that refers to the body's difficulty in absorbing nutrients from food. Next, we have mega or large. Cardiomegaly is a condition where the heart is enlarged, also known as an enlarged heart. So whenever a person has a chest x-ray or maybe an echocardiogram, they're going to be able to tell the size of the heart. If the heart is larger than it should be, their diagnosis would end up being cardiomegaly. Meta means change. Metamorphosis is a biological process that involves a significant change in an animal's body structure through cell growth and differentiation. Micro means small. A microorganism is a microscopic organism that can be seen with a microscope. So micro is tiny. Think microscope in order to visualize it. Mono means one. Mono, as in mononucleosis, is a disease signaled by a large concentration of white blood cells that have one nucleus. So, mono or mononucleosis, white blood cells with one nucleus, and they're going to be in the mono family. Multi means many. So, multipara refers to a woman who has had two or more viable pregnancies. A viable pregnancy would not be a stillbirth. It would not be a birth that was terminated. It would be a birth in which the newborn has a heartbeat. That would be a viable pregnancy. Myo means muscle. Myocarditis is actually three different words or prefixes and a suffix. So myo, muscle, cardi, heart, suffix itis, inflammation. So myocarditis means inflammation of the heart muscle. Neo means new. The terms neonatal and neonate refer to newborns. Neuro means nerve. For example, neuropathy is when nerve damage leads to pain, weakness, numbness, or tingling in one or more parts of the body. So, patients who've had a stroke will have neuropathy, or either someone who may have had an amputated extremity, they will also have phantom pains as if their leg is still there. And so that would mean that the nerves were damaged and that they could possibly have neuropathy also. Oculo or ocula refers to eye. So an ocular exam is a vision test or eye examination. Odonto refers to tooth. Forensic odontology is the practice of matching teeth marks to suspects. Olig refers to few or scanty. So oliguria is a medical term that refers to a reduced amount of urine being produced. It can be defined as less than 20 mLs or cc's of urine production per hour in adults. So if a patient has oliguria, it could be because they have renal failure or multi-organ failure. So you want to be making your nurse aware. Osteo refers to bone. Osteoporosis is a condition where bones become porous and weak. Ortho means straight or correct. So an orthodontist is a dental specialist who uses devices like braces to correct bite problems, close gaps between teeth, and straighten teeth. So again, ortho means straight or correct, orthodontist. Ot refers to ear. So otitis is a medical term that that means inflammation of the ear. Pan refers to all. So pancarditis means inflammation of the entire heart. Para means beside or abnormal. So paresthesia is an abnormal sensation such as burning, prickling, or tingling that occurs without an outside stimulus. Patho refers to disease. A pathologist is a person who studies diseases. Pre means before. Prenatal care is the health care an expecting mother receives while pregnant or before birth. Prenatal care, before birth care. Peri means around. So pericarditis, what do you think that means? Yes, it is a condition in which the pericardium or the sac around the heart becomes inflamed. Phlebo means vein, as in phlebotomy or venipuncture, which is the procedure of taking blood from a vein with a needle. Pneumo means lung or air. Pneumonia is inflammation of the lungs with congestion. Poly means many. Polycystic refers to having many cysts. Post is after. Post-mortem care is the care given to a deceased person after death. Pro is forward or before. Progeria means the onset of old age before the expected time or premature old age. Progeria. Procto refers to rectum. A proctologist is a specialist in the study of the anus and rectum. Pseudo means false. What do you think a pseudocyst is? That's right, it's a false cyst. So pseudocyst means a fluid-filled cavity resembling a cyst, but lacking a wall or a lining. Pseudocyst. Psych refers to the mind. So an antipsychotic is a medication that alters the mind. Quad or quadri means four. Quadriplegia refers to paralysis of all four limbs. Re means backward or again. So a relapse means to fall back from improvement. For example, patients who stop taking their medications have a higher risk of relapse. Retro means behind or backward. For example, retrograde means moving backward or in the opposite direction, and that can sometimes be related to blood flow. So someone could have retrograde or backwards moving blood flow. Rhino refers to nose. So a rhinoplasty, also known as a nose job, is a surgical procedure that reshapes or repairs the nose for cosmetic or functional reasons. Sacro refers to flesh. So sarcoma is a tumor that starts in bone, cartilage, fat, muscle, blood vessels, or other connective or supportive tissues. Sarcoma. Sclero refers to hardening. So atherosclerosis is the hardening of the arteries that can be caused by high cholesterol, aging, and diet. Spleno refers to spleen. You all should understand this one. What do you think splenomegaly means? That is right, spleen and then megaly. It is an enlarged spleen. Sub means under or below. As example, a sublingual medication is a medication placed under the tongue for administration. Nitroglycerin tabs are usually a sublingual medication. Super means above or excessive. For example, the World Health Organization has come out with a list of superbugs that urgently need new antibiotics to fight them. So when you think of superbugs, let's see, they're not ordinary bugs. These are bugs that require excessive or a different type of antibiotic in order to kill or treat them. So they are different than what we would normally be treating. They require excessive treatment, thus they call them superbugs. Supra also means above or over. For example, a suprapubic catheter is a thin, flexible tube that drains urine from the bladder through a small incision in the lower abdomen above the pubic area. So instead of this person having an indwelling or a Foley catheter, they actually will make a surgical incision above the pubic hair, above the pubic area, and they will access the bladder that way. And that tube that comes out is referred to as a suprapubic catheter. Syn or sim means together. A syndrome is a set of symptoms or conditions that occur together and suggest the presence of certain diseases or an increased chance of developing disease. So, if a person has a fever, cough, malaise, we're going to think that their symptoms relate to a syndrome. They might have an upper respiratory infection. Tachy means fast. The doctor diagnosed the patient with tachycardia because his resting heart rate was higher than normal. The normal adult heart rate is 60 to 100 beats per minute. So when someone has a sustained heart rate greater than 100, you may see a diagnosis of tachycardia in their chart. Trans means across or through. Transcutaneous pacing, or TCP, stimulates the heart muscle by passing electrical impulses through electrodes put on the patient's skin, therefore regulating the heart. So these pads are sending energy through the heart in order to stimulate the heart to beat faster. Transcutaneous pacing. We will usually keep the transcutaneous pacer in place until the person goes to surgery and gets an implanted pacemaker. Thrombo refers to clot. So a thromboembolism is a circulating blood clot that gets stuck and causes an obstruction. Thromboembolism, a clot that has moved. Toxo refers to poison. Toxoplasmosis is an infection caused by a single-celled parasite named Toxoplasma gondii that may invade tissues and damage the brain. Tri means three. The tricuspid valve is a heart valve with three cusps or leaves. Tricuspid, a valve that has three cusps. Ultra is beyond or excessive. So ultrasonography or sonogram. An ultrasound, also known as sonography, uses high-frequency sound waves to create images of the inside of the body. So that ultra means that those sound waves are beyond, or they're excessive. They're beyond what the human can actually hear. Uni means one. Unilateral means related to or affecting one side of the body or an organ. Xeno means foreign. A xeno Graft is a graft of tissue taken from the donor of one species and grafted into the recipient of another species. For example, when someone has had a major burn, they can have a xenograft that consists of fish skins. Research it, look it up. It's actually a very cool medical technique that helps to aid in wound healing. A xenograft, tissue taken from a different species and grafted onto another species. Zero means dry. Xerosis is a condition where the skin loses much water and oil, resulting in abnormally dry skin or membranes. Uro refers to urine. A urostomy is a surgical procedure that creates an opening in the abdomen to allow urine to drain from the body. So, like we have a colostomy for stool, patients could also have a urostomy for their urine. Veno means vein. Venography is a radiograph of a vein that uses an opaque substance like contrast that can be seen on an x-ray. And guess what, everybody? That concludes our video. Thank you all for watching. You've learned 100 new or 100 common medical prefixes. As I said in the intro, if you'd like to support us, please like the video, subscribe to our channel, and you can always click on the heart-shaped icon to send a super thanks through YouTube or by sending a gift of coffee to me, Nurse Eunice. And I'll see you all in the next video. Have a great weekend.